Even Super Saiyan 1 isn't immune from criticism, and from my experience over the years, and maybe yours, we're going to highlight how some fans feel about the iconic Super Saiyan 1, and let's see if you agree or disagree. Some believe it lost its legendary status, that it's overused, that Super Saiyan 1 was supposed to be a rare, mythical transformation but became a bargain sale, easily achieved by characters like Goten, Trunks, Cauliflower, Kale, without emotional weight or intense training. However, there are reasons behind this in story. Some believe the tingle in the back explanation in Dragon Ball Super trivialized the form, turning what was once a sacred transformation into a joke. That its overuse in later arcs and media made it feel common, unremarkable, especially after Super Saiyan 2, 3 and God forms were introduced. But not only that, some believe that there was a power creep that broke Dragon Ball and was irreversible, to the point where once a game-changing transformation, Super Saiyan 1 was quickly rendered obsolete by newer transformations, although that does follow a typical pattern in Dragon Ball with every transformation at some point, though each previous form does serve as a building block to future power-ups. It's noted by some that the 50 times multiplier didn't visibly match its supposed power in later arcs, when you take into consideration how big 50 times of a multiplier actually is in Dragon Ball. Some brought up that Super Saiyan 1 was easily outclassed by androids, gods, and new villains, undermining its former might, and how Kaioken became irrelevant after Super Saiyan 1's introduction. Super Saiyan 1 followed the same path. Of course, these are surface level criticisms by some, but it's hard to believe some would even criticize its execution. But the in-universe logic around Super Saiyan 1 is inconsistent. Goten and Trunks getting it with no real hardship, but there are inverse reasons behind why they could do that, especially when it comes to the newly introduced, well, not so new anymore, S-Cell concept. Some feel the transformation became a mere switch rather than a meaningful evolution, that it wasn't adopted as a permanent base form despite efforts like Goku Gohan mastering it in the time chamber. But could you really see Super Saiyan replacing the original look of Goku, Gohan, or anyone else? Their base form may be the weakest out of all of their power-ups, but that's their iconic look. Going past lore itself, the visual and thematic decline is noticed by some too, such as early designs like the fluffy Namek Super Saiyan hair. They were beloved, while later designs became sharper, less iconic looking. Apples and oranges, I suppose, but I do love the original Super Saiyan 1 design. I've seen some comments talking about the design. It was just reduced to a hair and eye color change, leading to a mockery like Power Ranger palette swap or banana hair, losing its thematic weight. What once symbolized heritage, emotion, and character arcs became a generic power-up. But you'll have to let me know what you think about those comments. Some argue that there's an impact on storytelling and tone, such as the Super Saiyan 1 form shifting Dragon Ball's focus from adventure and mysticism to power levels and transformations, but they were already setting the groundwork for that before Super Saiyan came to be. Though the Namek saga did feel like the last big Dragon Ball hunt in Dragon Ball Z. Though some feel like power-ups such as Super Saiyan, it all overshadowed the Dragon Balls and made those earlier themes feel secondary. But the most criticism I see is about the power scaling and how the series pushed the franchise into a corner of constant escalation, for better or for worse, with some arguing it created an unbalanced cast, making non-Saiyan characters largely irrelevant. Some fans felt the form had more marketing value than narrative value after its initial arc. But what about the missed potential and writing flaws that some argue too? One I disagree with are the critics talking about how Ascended Super Saiyan was barely explored, when you consider the fact that everything after Super Saiyan 1 was an ascension of that original power-up, further mutations of the Super Saiyan power. I don't agree with its legacy being further harmed by being used inconsistently or forgotten in favor of newer, flashier forms. I always feel like Super Saiyan 1 will always hold a strong place in everybody's heart. There shouldn't be any confusion about the Super Saiyan 1 form causing users to be more aggressive or ruthless, as that was part of the progression of characters learning how to control the power without feeling those side effects. The Super Saiyan transformation is a powerful, evolved state attainable by members and hybrids of the Saiyan species, provided they possess sufficient amount of specialized biological structures known as S-cells. The iconic Super Saiyan transformation debuted initially in 1991, in the Dragon Ball manga by Akira Toriyama, and appeared in the anime for the first time the same year. The basic Super Saiyan form itself can be mastered to remove certain drawbacks and enhance its effectiveness. Historically, the Super Saiyan state was considered mythical and attained for over 1,000 years until Goku notably achieved it during his monumental battle against Frieza. Frieza, alarmed by the growing strength of Saiyans under his command and influenced by fear of this legend, became reality, sought approval from Beerus, the god of destruction, to annihilate the Saiyan race. Thus, the legend persisted until Goku's transformation validated it. Transforming into a Super Saiyan originally depended on experiencing intense emotional states like profound anger or grief, provided the Saiyan had enough S cells. S cell density is increased through both gentle temperament and consistent elevation of fighting power. Saiyan descendants such as Goten and Trunks inherit substantial S cells, explaining their ease in reaching Super Saiyan states. The physical characteristics of Super Saiyan include the golden blonde hair, bright greenish blue eyes, a muscular body, and a radiant aura, often displaying bioelectric sparks in stronger forms like Super Saiyan 2, and the initial emotional transformation manifests dramatically with personality shifts towards aggressive, vengeful behaviors even in ordinary calm and peaceful Saiyans. Goku's initial transformation exemplifies this stark personality shift. However, later Saiyans such as Kaba, Caulifla, and Dragon Ball Super revealed alternate calmer methods for initiating the transformation by focusing key in specific areas like the back. Each Saiyan's ascension to Super Saiyan reflects their emotional state, personality, and unique circumstances, from traumatic awakenings to gentle awakenings guided by mentorship or inherent genetic potential. Goku became a Super Saiyan during his fight against Frieza, triggered by intense emotional trauma after Frieza kills his friend. His anger and desperation awakens the legendary form. Vegeta achieved Super Saiyan off-screen before the Android Saga, through extreme frustration and self-loathing from his repeated failures to surpass Goku. Pushing himself to the absolute limit during brutal training on a barren planet led him to unlock the form through sheer determination and rage. Future Trunks in the dystopian future became Super Saiyan after the death of his mentor, Gohan. That's in the anime special, but he already unlocked it whilst training with Gohan in the manga version. But in the anime, Gohan's death at the hands of the androids sparked an overwhelming surge of rage and grief, causing Trunks to transform. With Gohan in the hyperbolic time chamber with Goku, preparing for the battle against Cell, he achieved it through guided and rigorous emotional and physical training with Goku, channeling intense emotions and determination to protect his loved ones. Goten and Trunks both off-screen. Goten whilst training with his mother Chi-Chi, Trunks when training casually with Vegeta, achieved without significant emotional trauma due to natural, genetic, predisposition and possibly inherited potential from Goku's prior achievements. And the same goes for Trunks with Vegeta's achievements. For Kaba, Vegeta trains him, deliberately provoking him into anger by threatening his home planet, enabling Kaba to awaken the transformation through protective rage. Caulifla quickly learns it whilst training for the Universe Tournament. Following Kaba's instructions, she focuses the energy into her back, a unique, practical method different from Universe 7 Saiyans, combined with innate talent and motivation. For Kale, it was deep-seated emotions of jealousy and inadequacy triggered her latent power, initially unleashing a Berserker-type Super Saiyan before eventually controlling the form. And with Broly, it's not far from that, being triggered through uncontrollable rage and desperation, with his potential allowing him to explosively ascend into a raw primal form of Super Saiyan. Though female Super Saiyans were not depicted in the original Dragon Ball manga or anime until Dragon Ball Super's introduction of Caulifla, various video games had featured female Super Saiyans such as Note from Dragon Ball Heroes and Sesame from Dragon Ball Fusions. Dragon Ball GT Perfect files suggest potential transformations for characters like Pan and Bulla under extraordinary conditions. The concept of Super Saiyan was initially a hypothetical reference mentioned by Nappa in early Dragon Ball Z episodes, but became fully realized when introduced as an integral plot later on. Interestingly, Akira Toriyama originally designed the form with blonde hair primarily to simplify the coloring process in manga production and to visually signify a powerful transformation. Additionally, inspirations drawn from Bruce Lee influenced the striking visual and physical portrayal of the Super Saiyan state. Super Saiyan forms exponentially increase the user's power level, originally portrayed as a significant 50-fold enhancement, though Toriyama later noted this was possibly exaggerated. Though there was only one way to catch up to Frieza's 120 million and surpass it, Kaioken was never going to be enough. Subsequent forms such as Super Saiyan 2 and 3 continued to significantly surpass previous states in strength, making the original transformation relatively minor by comparison by the series' later stages. But throughout Dragon Ball's expanded universe, including video games and anime spin-offs, numerous variants of the Super Saiyan transformation have emerged, each with unique enhancements or conditions such as Super Saiyan Rose, Blue, and legendary Super Saiyan forms. But in short, to some, Super Saiyan 1 began as a groundbreaking, emotionally charged transformation, but became overused, poorly handled, and thematically diluted. Fans still remember its iconic debut on Namek, but some fans feel its legacy was undermined by lazy writing, overexposure, and inconsistent power scaling. But in conclusion, the Super Saiyan transformation remains an iconic and transformative aspect of the Dragon Ball series, paving the way for anime and manga for what we have today. It symbolizes both an emotional and physical evolution of Saiyan characters, deeply woven into the series' lore, narrative, and character development.